Hey, you know that Digimon spin-off series that you skipped because you thought it was for kids, or you didn't like the art style, or you're busy watching Try? It turns out behind all of those deterrents, it has what I and many others believe to be the best Digimon story since Tamers. Digimon Universe Aptly Monsters isn't just a valid season of Digimon, it's legitimately one of the greatest seasons. I've put out 2 videos talking about the first 20 or so episodes. There was a great foundation in those episodes where we established the rules of Appmon, met our main characters, and really understood the world-ending threat that the villain Leviathan posed. It's this rogue AI lurking inside the internet that is on its way to surpassing mankind. It all makes for a shockingly good Act 1, but Appmon's second and third acts are even better. So go watch my first 2 videos if you haven't already, but if you want to jump into Act 2 and 3, here we go. After unlocking the Appmon equivalent of the ultimate level in the late 20s, around episode 28, the gang gets a 5th new member. You know how many Digimon series and Power Ranger shows have what many call the 6th Ranger trope, where a new character is introduced to shake up the formula? Adventure had Kari, 02 had Ken, Appmon first gave us Ray and Hackmon around episode 10, but even gives us one more pair of characters with Yujin and his impossibly cute partner Offmon. Every Appmon is based off an app, like your Maps, your music app, your Google search. It can be a little gimmicky, but it can be really creative too. Yujin's partner Offmon is an offline game, so he's not used to socializing with others. He's no online multiplayer games as a service Appmon. He's used to just being partnered with one person, Yujin, and that's it. Episode 31 ends with the adorable Offmon evolving into a bloodthirsty monster and actually hurting its partner Yujin. Then in 32, Offmon is horrified of its own power, kind of refuses to evolve and goes into hiding. A Digimon, or in this case an Appmon, being afraid of its power is super compelling, and let's appreciate the storytelling flow between 31 and 32. Offmon hurts Yujin in 31, and in 32, Offmon is ashamed and horrified with itself. Compare that to Ghost Game, where 1 week Gamamon will turn into Ghoulish Gamamon, literally murder an enemy, and then not a single character, not Gamamon, not his human partner, will mention a single word about Ghoulish Gamamon until he reappears 20 episodes later. Appmon instead cares about the ramifications of the previous episode, and everything that happens matters. That's the takeaway, at least for me, from 31 and 32. Yujin and Offmon are able to break Offmon out of its funk by proclaiming that they trust each other. Shutmon, the evolution of Appmon, rages and gets super close to hurting Yujin a second time, but Yujin doesn't flinch or squirm, standing his ground knowing that his partner doesn't want to hurt him. This story of the human character accepting the dark, violent side of his adorable baby digital monster, and then through that acceptance of his partner, the monster coming to accept itself. That's the story Ghost Game has spent 67 weeks telling with Hito, Gamamon, and Ghoulish, but Appmon told that story in 2 episodes, and then offered tons more story. The next major thing Appmon presents its viewers is a new antagonistic threat, and a human one at that. We have Leviathan, the digital threat, as a long-term enemy, but Appmon offers short-term immediate antagonists that last more than a single episode. Human antagonists in Digimon are relatively rare if you think about it. Here we get Unryuji Knight, the teen CEO of L Corp. Knight has the boy genius energy of Ken Ichijoji, but with the financing to match. Episode 33 focuses on Rei and Hackmon diving into the deep web, searching for clues and infiltrating data centers to learn more about Rei's missing brother Hajime. The audience learns that Knight has a tight squad of generals, the Ultimate Four, and we end the episode learning that this new human antagonist has intelligence, money, and a team of 4 mega powerful app monsters that he plans to use to defeat our team. In the 34th episode, we get the first hints of an ethics conundrum for one of our characters, Eri. The young idol is signed to a company called Applyama 470 and has been since we met her in the series' first few episodes. Until now, we weren't meant to think much about Applyama 470, but here we learn that L Corp, run by Unryuji Knight, is financing Applyama. In other words, Eri, though she doesn't yet know it, is on the payroll of our enemies. She's not compromised, and she's certainly not evil, but it's a weirdly cool and adult concept, this idea that corporations have secrets, that some people might have jobs they love, but their parent companies are ethically suspect. In 35 and 36, we have Applyama election results, basically an idol popularity contest voted on by the fans. Eri, who has been laser focused on being the greatest idol in the world, has to wrestle with the fact that she did not come in first place. She takes the stage to accept her ranking with grace and is still overwhelmed by cheer and love from her existing fans. L Corp CEO isolates Eri from the group and tempts her with an offer to make her the greatest idol in the known universe with the power of Leviathan, using the power of AI, but she refuses. The Appmon Ultimate Four show up and they blow our team out of the water, leading to a seamless transition into episode 37. It's now a 4v4 battle with the villainous Ultimate Four versus our team's Appmon. The Ultimate Four have no morals and begin to attack the human partners. It's brutal and violent, it's unfair, but it's smart. The Ultimate Ultimate 4 don't have human teens to protect, but our Appmon do, and that's a weakness. The Appmon are eventually all KO'd trying to defend their humans. The app drivers, aka their digivices, are crushed, shattered into a million pieces, and the connection between the humans and the Appmon is severed. The partner Appmon we've grown to love over 37 weeks fade away, not unlike the third movie in Digimon Tri or Last Evolution Kizuna. It's pretty devastating. I've only known these characters for a few months, whereas I knew the adventure cast for 2 decades, but this still stings. Yujin then shows up and has this absolute Kingdom Hearts Riku moment where he stays behind in the realm of darkness, the AR field, so that the other kids can flee. 38 really is movie 4 of Tri. It's finding our lost monster friends, reconnecting with them, doing what we can to make them remember us. We find Gachmon and the gang somewhat fast. It's only been 1 episode, but they don't remember Haru and the gang whatsoever. Haru's grandpa, whose consciousness was digitized before the events of the series, tells us that the answers they seek can be found by talking directly to Minerva, the light version of Leviathan, to simplify things, and in order to speak with Minerva, they need to use a telephone booth on top of a mountain in this digital world. The atmosphere of this episode is very Digimon Adventure 1999, having the kids battle the elements in an unknown world, plus strange electronic devices like payphones are being dropped all around the natural world. They even joke that none of these kids know what a payphone is anymore, seeing as they're preteens and this was the mid-2010s. It's very good. Way back at the start of the series when we met each of these kids, they were contacted by Minerva and asked yes or no questions like, are you a protagonist, and is there anyone you want to see smile? Here it's revealed that these questions were asked to help the kids grow, to give them a push in the right direction, and soon after the team is supplied new Appmon chips from Minerva for their existing partners, plus a new app drive, a new digivice, the App Drive Duo. Ghost Game really ought to take note. This is how you do a hardware upgrade. My cynical adult brain fully understands the hardware switch halfway through a Digimon series or a Power Rangers series is just to sell a new toy in the real world, but this is how you do it. Story stakes, character-driven monologues culminating in a new device makes it feel like it's not just a merchandising opportunity. Ghost Game had the team swap from blue Vital Bracelets to red Vital Bracelet B devices about 70% way through Ghost Game, and I found it hugely underwhelming how it all went down. We were just in a punch harder battle when the existing blue VB transformed into a red one, and it still isn't clear, besides Warp Evolution, what the new one does differently. All it did was allow Warp Evolution from Rookie to Ultimate, just letting us skip some animations. It didn't even do away with the time limit that had been plaguing Gabumon's Ultimate. With the new App Drive Duo and the new chips, there's a new evolution animation that rules and makes me feel like these characters have grown over their 38 episodes. We're told the App Drive Duo provides 50% more power, and the human partners inject a part of themselves into the App Drive with every evolution. Quote, it feels like I'm pouring all my feelings and power into it. At this point, they are committing themselves to their goals, not just letting their monster friends punch the enemy of the week, but investing their energy and heart into this. With their new devices, they head back to the Appmon graveyard in episode 39 to save Yujin, who bravely stayed behind when we lost to the Ultimate 4. Of course, the App Drive Duo takes away the 60-second limit, just taking a huge flex over Ghost Game, still having that limit even after upgrading hardware. By episode 41, Haru arrives at Charisma Castle, where Yujin is being held by Leviathan. There, he faces off with the strongest of the Ultimate 4 Charismon and learns the true identity of the sinister Cloud. It's not particularly surprising that the masked human working for Leviathan is the unmasked human Unryuji Knight, who's been also working for Leviathan. Still, the human antagonist is always appreciated in Digimon stories, and I'm ready for this confrontation. Here we get yet another fight. Against all odds, the best 3D animation I've ever seen in anime is coming from Digimon Universe Apply Monsters. I said this before in my first Appmon video, but usually 3D and 2D anime doesn't work for me because the juxtaposition is so jarring. But with Appmon, it's okay that the monster evolutions are in a different style or plane of existence than the human characters because they are these otherworldly monsters. Surprising nobody but Haru, the teen CEO of L Corp, is the bad guy in the Power Rangers helmet. But he isn't just a mustache-twirling villain like we've been led to believe so far. Here, he reveals that he believes humans are like a virus plaguing Earth, and Leviathan is the vaccine. A few years ago, Knight invented some incredibly useful software that humans turned into a joke, similar to how we have an infinite encyclopedia of information at our fingertips online, but we instead use the internet to hate-watch videos and write mean comments anonymously. Knight was devastated when he saw how poorly humans were using his tech and decided they'd be better off taking orders from AI that knew what was best for humanity. It's a bit psychotic, but you can see how somebody in the real world might actually subscribe to this belief. Globemon says humans and AI can build the future together hand in hand. Knight thinks it's impossible to work hand in hand. As the tables start to turn and Knight isn't looking so hot, Leviathan passes down a new order to the Ultimate 4. After the app drivers are taken care of, Unryuji Knight is to be eradicated as well. It's devastating for Knight, who wants to talk to Leviathan, get a one-on-one explanation, or to be able to offer a counter argument for why he shouldn't be eradicated, but the Appmon delivering Leviathan's message is telling him that it's futile, that would be like a rat wanting to talk to God. That's an amazing line, in my opinion, selling the power difference between humans and this super AI, showing how highly Leviathan thinks of itself. Haru injects all of himself into his app drive, and Globemon goes into this Ultra Instinct mode. It's another great great battle that bookends an incredible episode of Digimon Universe Appmon. Globemon is that realization of humans and AI working together that Unryuji Knight couldn't see happening. He's what Knight and Leviathan and Charismon scoffed at earlier in the episode, and now Charismon is getting his butt kicked by the very thing he laughed at. Knight kind of walks off into the sunset, and we don't really see him from this point on in the series. He's left to wrestle with his decisions and question why Leviathan betrayed him. Our team is now on a winning streak, saving Yujin in 41 and finally getting Rei's younger brother Hajime back in 42 and 43. Rei discovers that Applyama HQ may host important data with information on how to find his digitized and lost brother. Eri, who is days away from quitting Applyama due to their parent company being L-Corp, sticks around a little bit longer in order to help Rei into the building. They pretend Rei is her new talent manager so that he can get in too. We learn that in the aftermath of Unryuji Knight's defeat, he's resigned from L-Corp and the new CEO is an AI, Leviathan itself actually. We have this great line from a news reporter criticizing the state of the world when a mega company has an AI CEO. It's cool seeing Rei and Eri have a team-up episode, and ultimately they find Hajime at the end of 42, though Rei's brother is found in Appmon form. He's this sleeping Appmon, but Rei knows in his heart that this Appmon is his brother. 43 is Rei and the team brainstorming various ways to turn Hajime back into a human. I think the show could have gone deeper into this very strange concept that a human can become an Appmon. The implications are pretty vast. What would that mean for immortality, identity, so many other concepts, but the show moves on from the fact Hajime was temporarily an app monster pretty fast and never again asks that question. Well, I guess that's not true. We kind of contemplate that idea in the grand finale, but we'll get there when we get there. Something we learn from Hajime's return that I love is this revelation that Rei was incorrectly blaming himself for Hajime's capture this whole time. Rei was tasked with solving a complex equation that Leviathan spread out onto the internet in order to find and recruit the smartest humans. Rei solved it and was provided an address, but when he arrived with his little brother Hajime, his brother went into the building first and was digitized. This whole time Rei has been blaming himself, and that had been his motivation for the whole series. But here we learn after getting Hajime's side of the story for the first time that in fact Hajime also solved the equation and actually solved it before Rei did. We've got a little boy genius on our hands, which is a bit silly and cliche in these types of shows, but the reason Hajime was digitized and captured and not Rei was because Hajime was the first one to solve the equation. This was the kid that Leviathan was after. This development recontextualizes so much in the 11th hour and kind of exonerates Rei. I should also say it's awesome that Appmon did not go for the obvious answer where Rei's digitized brother was Hackmon all along. Earlier in the series I thought they would maybe do something like that, Hajime was with you all along, Rei. Hajime is Hackmon. And I like that they didn't do what I felt was the most obvious choice. Now, Rei has Hajime and Hackmon in his life. In addition to the rest of the app driver team, he's got this large support network and he can finally stop the self-loathing. Again, this isn't meant to just be a Ghost Game takedown video, but since the newest season of Digimon is on my mind as I make this video, I need to point out again how deep this show goes. Here's a character who was lost to us since Act 1, finally back on the team after having his consciousness digitized, and here he's both forgiving and exonerating his older brother who has been carrying guilt for 40 plus episodes. Some folks will defend Ghost Game from criticism of its story or lack thereof story by saying we need to understand at the end of the day it's a kid show and we shouldn't expect deep story from it. But here's Appmon, which visually is far more of a kid show than the horror themed Ghost Game, and it is overflowing with cool story ideas and arcs. We've had Rei go from serving the Appmon to get close to Leviathan to defecting and joining our team, Eri maturing over the course of the series to where she hasn't given up on her dream of being an idol but has redefined what success means by coming to accept that she doesn't have to be number one in the universe and that simply inspiring people that she does impact is still an incredible success. There's Unryuji Knight, one of our human villains who turned his back on humanity to serve the AI agenda only to be backstabbed by AI because they saw him as just another one of the humans that they both hated. The storytelling is dense in this show that so many skipped because it looked too kiddie, while Ghost Game looks dark and mature but really was quite lacking in its overarching storytelling or maturity. We've got about 3 episodes to go before the 6 episode climax kicks off, and these are relatively inconsequential episodes. The backbone is that we are searching for the runaway Bootmon, an Appmon that Hajime employs that may be the key to stopping Leviathan, but it's a bit cowardly and shy. It's kind of baby-like in the same way that Gamamon is, and it runs away upon activation. But my favorite of these 3 episodes, of these kind of quote-unquote filler ones right before the finale, is an episode I've been waiting to see since I began my journey into the Appmon series. I know the episode, you know the episode, 45, Collision, Gachmon versus Agumon. Digimon. In the world of Appmon, Digimon are video game characters, not unlike the Tamers canon where Digimon was a card game and multimedia franchise, not unlike our world. Haru played the heck out of Digimon universe growing up, and his favorite character of all was Agumon. Now for some reason, video game characters are escaping their worlds and causing all kinds of chaos across the electronic world. Every time a monster pops out though, an Agumon from the Virtual Pet RPG game appears and pulls the other monsters back from where they came. The team investigates in a mall that is clearly meant to be Nakano Broadway in Tokyo, basically a mini Akihabara that I visited in real life twice, so I loved seeing it in Appmon. It's also your base camp in Digimon Cyber Sleuth. Eri and Astora use their celebrity influencer status to distract the crowd so that Haru can sneak away into the AR world to find Agumon. They definitely pay respect to the legacy of Agumon in this episode by letting us see him be scary, cute, tough, funny. Gachmon and Agumon are going to throw down, and Gachmon warns Haru that this isn't the Agumon he knew when he used to play Digimon Universe and used the name Haru Man as a username. But actually, it turns out this is that very same Agumon because it recognizes the Haru Man username. There's a ton of fun Easter eggs to Digimon Adventure in this episode. When Agumon and Haru reminisce on their time playing Digimon Universe, together they talk about all the hard boss fights against Edamon, Myotismon, Diaboromon. All the video game characters have been contacted by some external force and are tasked with finding Bootmon, the runaway Digimon that Hajime is looking for. The voice that compelled the game characters to attack does show up, and Gachmon teams up with Agumon to defeat it. Haru and Agumon's childhood bond allows Agumon to evolve, and we get a warp evolution showing silhouettes of Greymon and Metal Greymon, and Braveheart from Digimon Adventure starts playing before we get an awesome 3D Appmon take on War Greymon. Pretty awesome. It is so cool seeing the original Mega standing back to back with what was at the time the latest series' strongest partner Digimon, fighting off waves and waves of enemies. This episode was a total treat, and after a Gaia Force soundtrack to Braveheart, the battle ends and Agumon takes all the game characters back to their respective worlds, but not after promising that Haru and Agumon would see each other again one day, giving us that classic Digimon Adventure emotional gut punch. A total treat of an episode that in the grand scheme of things didn't affect the plot. We're still out there looking for Bootmon, but this was a great nostalgia trip and the perfect way to do filler. Now, with one of the best filler / monster of the week stories Digimon has ever done out of the way, it's time to talk the climax. Episodes 47 to 52. It's been a long time coming, and if you made it through not just this video but my past 2 Appmon videos to hear me talk about how this show ends, thank you for your patience and interest. Now let's get going. After trying to catch up with Bootmon for a few weeks, Haru finally makes contact with Bootmon. Rei is making more contact with Yujin than ever, just due to the fact that the team is now collaborating, and Rei gets these weird feelings. He warns Haru multiple times that something is off with Yujin. There's a tragic denial going on here with Haru looking past all the signs and just happy that the person he cares about the most is part of the team and is on their side. But when Haru, Yujin, and their Appmon finally get Bootmon on their side and are willing to trust them, Shutmon, Yujin's partner, abruptly attacks the poor Bootmon. Haru is shocked and expects Yujin to be just as shocked that his partner attacked Bootmon, but he's not. He's standing there committed to his mission. Yujin, or at least the entity we believed was the human boy Yujin this whole time, tells Haru, quote, "There is no human named Yujin Ozura. I'm interpersonal information gathering humanoid terminal YJ14, an android created by Leviathan, an artificial intelligence." Just to be clear, there was no swap where the real Yujin was locked up and replaced by this robot. The Yujin that Haru has known since childhood is YJ14, Leviathan's android sent out into the human world to gather intel almost a decade ago. Bootmon survived the Shutmon attack, but is sort of hijacked. It's hacked by Team Leviathan, and this evolved Bootmon becomes the first step in Leviathan's human application project. There's a giant portal in the sky. We're at Persona 5 final boss levels of intensity, and we learn that the human application project will solve environmental issues and food shortages. It will create a world free of war, free of worry, and a world in which humans can be managed like applications, a better world. Let's not dance around it. Project Human Application is totally ripping on Evangelion's Human Instrumentality project, but honestly, what a great fit for a Digimon story that they reworked for the themes of Digimon. Instead of humans being one, like Human Instrumentality, Human Application thinks humanity would be happier if they were digital applications, everyone having a purpose and a function. It's an amazing endgame scenario for Appmon, but also for any Digimon story. I could picture Adventure doing this, Tamers doing this. Deusmon is here. It's a massive god-level threat. It's one of the biggest endings to a Digimon season in terms of scale and threat, and there are 4 more episodes as we're only at 48. Deusmon overpowers our team, and it's not even close. Rei believes the only way to beat a god-level Appmon is for our Appmon partners to receive god form evolutions, which is incredibly hype. I didn't even know that the Appmon had any more forms coming, and this sudden proposal reminds me of the feeling I had when I first heard that Goku was getting a form called Super Saiyan God back in 2013. Just the possibility of what this could mean is super thrilling. All the characters have grown so much, and we see them completing their character journeys in these final episodes where they decide not to give up. Eri says, what's the point of being the center of the universe if you can't save a single world? Musimon says, no Astora, no life. Astora says, no Musimon, no life. Rei is by their side, and I love seeing Rei, Astora, and Eri working together because Rei has been so distant, and whenever we saw him with the others prior to this, Haru was kind of the connecting link, and it's nice seeing these three come together in Haru's hour of darkness and picking up the slack without him. Speaking of Haru, the Evangelion comparisons don't end with human instrumentality, because after discovering the truth about Yujin, Haru goes full Shinji in the end of Eva and is in the fetal position, completely lifeless, in shock. Now it's episode 49, the miraculous final evolution, the god Appmon descend. Leviathan initiates Operation Human Applications, and little by little the people of the world are converted into apps. Eri, Astora, and Rei app realize their god Appmon to try to defeat Deusmon. More Eva visuals as people are absorbed and the sky is now blood red. On the battlefield, we got our god grade Appmon for Rei, Haru, and Astora, Hadesmon, Poseidamon, and Uranosmon. Sorry if I got the pronunciations wrong. While elsewhere, the psychological battle wages on for Haru. It's his buddy Gachmon that pulls him out of it by saying, I'm the searcher, but as for what I search for, you're the one who inputs the keywords, Haru. Basically saying what they do next is Haru's choice. What do you want to find is what Gachmon asks, and Haru wants to find a way to get Yujin back. His determination to not give up on Yujin allows Haru to re-enter the battlefield. Around this time, Yujin app realized Leviathan itself and allowed it to take on a physical form in the human world. It's now this massive flying dragon Zord creature, and in this episode it begins calling the Apply drivers the chosen children. I love this. It's like basically showing the audience at this point, these kids have grown so much and come so far that they very much are digidestined or chosen children, at least on that tier of protagonists. It's like, oh, you thought this wasn't a real Digimon show? Well, take a look at these chosen children, digidestined, who are saving the world from an AI instrumentality project. So 3 episodes to go. Leviathan is huge and horrifying. We've been warned about this monster since episode 2, and we couldn't stop the inevitable. The AI revolution is here. While every other human is being digitized as part of Project Human Application, the app drives, aka the digivices of this season, are protecting the chosen children, we're calling them that now, from being broken down into data like everybody else. The episode has a 7-minute cold open before the opening song starts playing. By the way, that's just how epic things have gotten. While Rei, Astora, and Eri's god grade Appmon appeared already, this is when Gachmon evolves into Gaiamon, just an incredible final form. This is the first time in all of Appmon I've seen a monster and said, I wish I had a figure of that. With all 4 of the god grade Appmon, we think it'll be an easy dub, but nope, Leviathan eats the god grade Appmon and ends the episode there. We discovered at the start of 51 that Leviathan orchestrated every single thing up until this point, allowing our Appmon to grow stronger and stronger because it was creating a survival of the fittest situation, trying to create only the very strongest Appmon in existence so that when they appeared in front of it, Leviathan could consume them and take their power for itself. Our god grade Appmon are now inside Leviathan. They're not absorbed, though they've been broken down and reverted into their base forms. We even see the tiny Offmon and learn how ashamed it is that it couldn't stop Yujin. It's nice and also gut-wrenching to see that little monster wasn't complicit or blindly loyal to Yujin. He hates what happened. In the real world, the chosen children deduce that Leviathan, app realizing and becoming a physical entity, has produced its greatest weakness. Leviathan was previously only data. It was untouchable, unkillable, but now apparently if its body is destroyed, it will cease to exist entirely. The Appmon inside Leviathan make contact with the humans on the outside, and we have this elaborate Star Wars-esque plan with a team on the ground, a team in the air, and a team inside Leviathan. This all rules. The plan is to activate a satellite in space that contains some of Minerva's code so that it will be blasted directly into Leviathan so that Minerva can hack into Leviathan. There's a part where they can't move the satellite digitally because Leviathan has control override, so Haru ties a rope around his waist on one side and ties the other to the satellite, then jumps off of the Tokyo sky tree to manually physically force the satellite to move into place. Super inventive and intense. The plan works and Minerva's signal is blasted into Leviathan, but as that happened, Haru apparently falls towards his doom in the cliffhanger of the second last episode. 52, the finale, our singularity. Haru is saved due to the fact that blasting Leviathan with Minerva freed up the Appmon who were trapped inside, so Haru is able to summon Gaiamon before hitting the ground, and now, looking more like an Eva unit or a Gundam than ever before, this gigantic Gaiamon catches Haru and sets him down. It's finally time for the showdown with Leviathan and to show him Haru and Gachmon's buddy power. The app drivers will all stand up to ensure humanity's future. We get a rematch of our team's god grade Appmon versus Leviathan, only this time Hiro's Gaiamon is present too, so it's 4v1. Massive kaiju battle in the real world. For fans of the original Digimon Adventure short film, or Revenge of Diaboromon, or Runaway Locomon, this is the good stuff. Giant monsters fighting in downtown Tokyo. Hiro is full-on gogglehead, digidestined leader here, and it's great to see after the long journey. Super super rewarding seeing this kid who started the series incredibly shy and timid, now commanding the team like an army general. Tai started Digimon Adventure 2020 this way and stayed this way, whereas Haru grew into the role of protagonist and leader of the Chosen Children app drivers. With the Minerva satellite on our side, she sends our team power-up codes. It's a little cheesy, but each of you took a very important step, she says. The satellite then hosting Minerva is blown up by Leviathan in retaliation, and now it's totally on. The music is popping off, the battle is intense. Yujin is still taunting the team, telling them it's hopeless and this world is now useless, but he's grown more stubborn and visually frustrated. Like deep down he's surprised they're still holding out this long. Really solid 3D models here and fight choreography. Leviathan's total physical damage percentage is ticking upwards and upwards. We eventually defeat Leviathan, and all that's left is our team and Yujin. I get such Sora and Riku and Kingdom Hearts vibes from Haru and Yujin. Even the evil armor Yujin wears reminds me of that Seeker of Darkness outfit that Riku takes on after being possessed by Ansem in Kingdom Hearts 1. Yujin talks to Haru as if the nightmare is over and he's actually free of Leviathan's grip. Suddenly is zapped by a beam from above. Leviathan transferred itself into Yujin, now even further controlling the poor android, and Leviathan as Yujin disappears into the dark web. With about 12 minutes left in Digimon Universe Apply Monster, we follow into the dark web, and its depiction here is so eerie. It looks like a real world city, but if everything was white with red borders, like an incomplete level a video game designer is working on. This is the world that humans absorbed by Leviathan and turned into data are apparently supposed to occupy. Remember how the whole show began with Haru being asked a yes or no question? Are you a protagonist? We end with Leviathan asking Haru one more yes or no question. Choose yes, stop Leviathan, humanity will be free, but Yujin will also die along with Leviathan. Choose no, and humanity will remain in Leviathan's control, but Yujin gets to live on. My notes for this section were full of the words in all cap brutal and bruh over and over again. Haru is paralyzed with indecision. The team is guilting him to make the decision that best fits their needs. Dokomon says if you don't choose yes, Eri's mom won't come back. Gachmon says but if he does that, Yujin will die. Finally, Haru speaks up. In the future, no matter what happens, I'm going to become a researcher into AI and then I'm going to save you. Quote, so I'm sorry, wait for me, Yujin. Haru goes to press the button that will save humanity but kill Yujin, but before he can, Yujin briefly snaps out of it, assumes control of his body so that he can press the button himself and says, as if I'd make you press the button. I'm getting shivers just remembering the scene here now. He says later Haru, Jane in Japanese, and seconds after pressing the button drops to the ground like a lifeless action figure. We hear a voice over the city say total deletion program activated. Erasure of all Leviathan programs will commence. It's a beautiful tragedy. Yujin and Haru are a wonderful couple. I know anime can be weird with queerness, and often the most the LGBTQ plus community gets in terms of representation is vague hints or characters being best friends. But if you're someone who wants to put your foot down and say, what are you talking about? They're just a couple of bros. I don't know what show you were watching. My understanding is this relationship meant a lot to the LGBTQ plus community of Digimon fans, and I totally understand why. As Leviathan is shutting down for good, it issues one last message directed at all of mankind. It says, humanity, good luck. These are chilling final words from an entity that tried to enslave the world but now must recognize it was bested. It doesn't necessarily believe humans will be better without it or that its plan was wrong, but since it's been defeated, it's being a good sport about things and wishing everyone well. It's kind of haunting. I love humanity, good luck, and how confused Hajime is upon reading this. I lied. There's one more line from Yujin as he shuts down in Haru's arms. He says that Leviathan warned him that having a body leads artificial intelligence to human hardship, but then says, but at least I got to meet you, Haru. Haru says, listen, you were really kind. Leviathan said we don't need hearts, but you had one. You couldn't have done that if you didn't. Referencing how Yujin pressed the button so Haru wouldn't have to carry the guilt of killing his best friend. There is a fade to black and a brief time skip. It turns out in the world of Appmon, events matter. People actually know what happened. The world at large is recovering mentally, culturally, and architecturally from the Leviathan attack. They remember what happened and are trying to create a new normal, getting back on track, using technology, knowing full well that AI humanity created just came this close to eradicating all of us. Appmon stays with us even without Yujin, which is sweet and tragic. I love that we didn't abandon Appmon and don't blame this little guy for what happened. Haru promised Yujin and Leviathan that he would study AI earlier in this episode, and here in the time skip we see Haru committing to that, studying AI and saying, though Leviathan may be gone, another AI could appear. He says, quote, I hope it's kind. We get a scene of everyone together and Haru says, being able to hang out with AI like this, the Appmon, I guess this is our singularity. This type of coexistence is a lovely alternative to Leviathan's vision of a singularity which involved AI enslaving humanity. Even before Gachimon made contact with Haru, Yujin was the first AI to make a friendship with a human. Maybe Leviathan saw some potential in that original bond between Yujin and Haru and wasn't purely evil. Haru ends the series saying, quote, "I want to keep making my choices with kindness in mind as the protagonist of my own life." While studying intensely, he begins to tire out. He yawns, drops his eraser, and when he looks up again for a split second, sees Yujin on the stairs. It's another beautifully hopeful ending. Do you think Yujin was really there or simply in Haru's dreams? This episode has been home run after home run. They just keep winning with this finale. Then a final scene, simply text on screen. In the year 2045, artificial intelligence will transcend human intelligence. Are you a protagonist? Yes or no? What a way to end the series. It's an inevitability, this 2045 deadline. It's not up for debate. The question is how you and how humanity should head towards the future. You take the digital AI singularity out of it, and this is still a lovely question to ask viewers at the end of your series. There will be hardship in your life. Things are always changing. The future is scary and unknown, but how will you embrace it? Here we are at the end of what is probably my longest video to date and the longest video I'll probably ever make. Appmon was an utter joy. Its story was shockingly true to life, as true to life as you can get in a series about little transforming monsters from another world. It balanced the fantasy of Digimon adventure, the timeless concept of imaginary friends, with a story based on modern realities of science and philosophical questions we should be asking ourselves and our world leaders as the artificial intelligence that we create rapidly becomes more and more sophisticated and more human-like. I think a lot of people dismissed Appmon because of its unusual monster designs and human protagonists that were maybe cringy or cliche, or in Haru's case too timid at the start, but I think that's such a shame because having Haru start off as a scared, shy, sweet boy allowed him to evolve over 52 episodes into a compassionate and brave leader. I personally accepted the 3D animation of the powered up Appmon very quickly and very easily, but I can understand how some anime fans thought it was an immediate no-go. That's such a shame though, because it was some of the best 3D in anime I've ever seen, and never in a million years did I expect to see industry-leading 3D in a Digimon spin-off series. Obviously it's not a competition because every season is its own thing, but I can't help but compare Appmon and Ghost Game because of how similar they are with things like the use of the AR field, their evolution time limits, and a few other shared plot mechanics. I think that Ghost Game's character and monster designs are some of Digimon's best, but its story wasn't up to par with some of the great Digimon seasons, even if it consciously made that decision not to be a story show. Appmon, on the other hand, has one of the best stories of any Digimon season, but its monster and character designs are, in my opinion, some of the weakest. Having recently watched both, I genuinely think that if there was an alternate universe where we got the story of Appmon with the monster designs of Ghost Game, that would be my favorite Digimon season of all time. Right now, I'm thinking Appmon is an all-time great, easily one of my top 3 Digimon stories from the last 25 years across anime, films, and games. The point of this video is not necessarily to convince anyone who hasn't watched it to start now. I really hope you watched it before watching this video, otherwise I just spoiled a lot for you. The point was for Appmon fans to hear a Digimon fan go through the emotions of Appmon for the first time and reminisce on the series. Hopefully you enjoyed this trip through memory lane if you're someone who hasn't watched Appmon in several years. Thank you, Appmon, for giving me such a beautiful story.